Can you imagine waking up one day to discover that the state you call home is fading away inch by inch? What if I told you that this isn't just a scene from a sci-fi movie, but a stark reality for parts of America? Today, we're venturing into the heart of the 10 fastest dying states in the United States as of 2024. Why are these states losing their spark? Is it the echo of abandoned factories in the Midwest or the silent retreat of the coastal tides? What secrets do the empty streets whisper about the future of the American dream? Join us as we unravel the stories of decline that are quietly reshaping the American landscape. We're not just talking numbers. We're bringing you 100% true, current data from immigration trends to skyrocketing living costs. Stay with us as we reveal the hard-hitting facts and figures that paint a picture of a changing nation. Why are these states on the brink of becoming ghost towns? What does this mean for the people who still call them home? And could your state be next? Don't miss a moment of this eye-opening journey. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let's dive deep into the reality of America's 10 fastest dying states. Number 10, California. Despite its reputation as a land of opportunity and innovation, has been facing a population decline that places it among the top 10 fastest shrinking states in the United States. Here's a brief on the factors contributing to this trend. High cost of living. The state's notoriously high cost of living, particularly in housing, has been a significant factor. About 34% of Californians have considered moving out of the state due to housing costs. Remote work. The rise of remote work has enabled higher-income individuals to relocate to areas with a lower cost of living, contributing to the outflow of residents. Political climate. Political preferences have also influenced migration patterns, with conservatives more likely to consider leaving the state. Birth rates. California's birth rate is near record lows, which contributes to the slower population growth. COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic led to a sobering death toll and increased out-of-state migration, while travel restrictions hindered international immigration. Domestic migration. There has been a net loss of residents moving to other states, often to Texas, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona, in search of more affordable living conditions. Economic opportunities. The pursuit of better job prospects outside California has driven some of the domestic migration. These factors, combined with the state's demographic changes, have led to a decline in population, raising concerns about the long-term implications for California's economic and social fabric. Policymakers are tasked with addressing these challenges to stabilize and potentially reverse the population decline. Number 9, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's population dynamics are shaped by several factors contributing to its decline. Aging population. The state is experiencing an aging demographic, with the number of residents over 65 increasing while the birth rate decreases. This shift means that the elderly population will soon outnumber the younger generation. Rural decline. Rural areas in Pennsylvania are projected to see a 5.8% decline over the next 30 years, with a population shift towards urban centers. This rural exodus is part of a broader trend affecting the state's demographic landscape. Economic factors. Job losses, especially in traditional industries, have led to outmigration as residents seek employment opportunities elsewhere. The state's economic growth rate is not robust enough to counteract this trend. Connectivity and infrastructure. Limited broadband internet subscription rates and infrastructure issues hinder economic participation and quality of life, making some areas less attractive to live in. Domestic migration. Pennsylvania has seen a net loss of residents due to migration, with more people leaving the state than moving in. This is exacerbated by the state's struggle to attract new residents. International immigration. Historically low rates of international immigration, which is a primary source of population growth in the U.S., have also contributed to the state's population decline. Urban to rural transition. Some counties are transitioning from urban to rural status, reflecting the changing population density and the movement of people within the state. To address these challenges, Pennsylvania may need to focus on strategies that enhance economic opportunities, improve connectivity, and create a more conducive environment for both young and elderly populations. Number 8. Oregon. Oregon has been experiencing a population decline, which has placed it among the top 10 states in the U.S. with the fastest shrinking populations. Here's a brief overview of the factors contributing to this trend, along with some statistics. Demographic changes, migration, slowdown. The COVID-19 pandemic has significantly slowed migration to Oregon. Low birth rate. Oregon has a lower birth rate compared to other states, contributing to its population decline. Economic factors. Cost of living. The cost of living, particularly housing prices, has surged in major cities like Portland, making it less affordable for many. Labor force growth. The slowdown in population growth translates to lower labor force growth, affecting the state's economic prospects. Housing market. Limited affordable housing. There is a scarcity of affordable housing options, which discourages people from moving to or staying in Oregon. High healthcare costs. Alongside housing, healthcare costs in Oregon are also relatively high, adding to the financial burden on residents. Population statistics. In 2022, Oregon's population decreased by about 16,000 people. From July 2022 to July 2023, the population went down by more than 6,000 people, a 0.1% decrease. Over a 2-year period stretching back to 2021, the overall census numbers estimate the state's population went down by 0.5%, or about 23,000 people. Implications. The decline in population has serious implications for state revenues and could affect federal funding and congressional representation. Economists are concerned that if Oregon's population doesn't rebound, it could have long-term negative effects on the state's economy. These factors combined have contributed to Oregon's ranking as one of the fastest dying states in terms of population decline. The state's ability to attract and retain residents will be crucial in reversing this trend. Number 7. Ohio. Ohio is facing a population decline due to various factors. Here's a brief overview. Demographic shifts. Aging population. Ohio has an aging population, with a significant portion of its residents being baby boomers reaching the end of their life cycle. Declining fertility. The state's total fertility rate, TFR, has fallen to approximately 1.7 births per female, a 10% decline from a decade earlier. Economic influences. Stagnant migration patterns. Migration to Ohio has been stagnant, with the state experiencing net positive migration for the first time since the 1950s, between 2010 and 2020. Income levels. Ohio's median household income is lower than the national average and has not kept pace with increases nationally. Population statistics. Natural decline. In 2020, Ohio deaths outnumbered births by about 14,000, marking the first annual natural decline of state population on record. Projected decline. Ohio's population is projected to decline by approximately 675,000, 5.7%, by 2050 if current rates of fertility, mortality, and migration remain unchanged. Health factors. Mortality rates. From 2019 to 2020, Ohio's age-adjusted mortality rate increased by approximately 15% and was also 15% higher than the national rate. Regional disparities. Columbus versus other areas. While the greater Columbus area is growing, the rest of Ohio is largely losing population and growing older. Implications. The population decline is driven more by natural decline rather than outmigration, and this trend is expected to continue through at least 2050. Ohio's economy and workforce are impacted by these demographic changes, with a decrease in workers and economic vitality outside of central Ohio. These factors combined have contributed to Ohio's ranking as one of the fastest dying states in terms of population decline. Addressing these issues will be crucial for the state's future growth and sustainability. Number 6. Mississippi. Mississippi has been experiencing a population decline, which has placed it among the top 10 fastest shrinking states in the United States. Several factors contribute to this trend. Economic challenges. Mississippi faces economic hurdles that impact its ability to retain and attract residents. Compared to other southern states experiencing growth, Mississippi struggles with a shrinking workforce. Younger individuals are moving away in search of better opportunities, and the state has difficulties in attracting new residents. Outmigration. There is a significant outmigration rate, where more people leave the state than those who move in. Between April 1st, 2020 to July 1st, 2023, Mississippi lost about 21,616 residents due to this trend. Birth rates. The state is also seeing lower birth rates, which contribute to the population decline. Lack of urban appeal. Mississippi lacks large, vibrant cities that draw people in. While cities like Salt Lake City, Raleigh, and Nashville have become desirable due to the opportunities they offer, Mississippi has not developed urban centers to the same extent. Regulatory environment. The state's regulatory environment is seen as overbearing, with a tendency to overregulate commerce and empower government bureaucrats. This can stifle economic growth and deter businesses and individuals from settling in the state. Demographic shifts. While Mississippi has become more diverse, with increases in Black, Hispanic, and Asian populations, it has lost a significant number of white residents. This demographic shift reflects broader national trends, but also highlights the state's challenges in maintaining its population. Comparison with neighboring states. Neighboring states like Tennessee have seen the 17th highest growth in the country, while Mississippi's growth was only 45th. This stark contrast underscores the state's difficulties in keeping pace with regional growth. To reverse the trend, experts suggest that Mississippi needs to adopt policies that promote economic opportunity, reduce regulatory burdens, and create an environment that is conducive to growth and innovation. Without such changes, the state may continue to see its population decline. Number 5. Hawaii. Hawaii's declining population, placing it among the top 10 fastest shrinking states, is influenced by several key factors. High cost of living. The primary reason people leave Hawaii is the high cost of living. It's one of the most expensive states in the U.S., with significant costs associated with housing, food, and general expenses. Better career opportunities. Elsewhere, many residents move to the mainland in search of better job prospects and career growth opportunities. Domestic migration. There has been a steady outmigration of residents to the mainland, exacerbated since 2016. Natural increase slowdown. The natural increase, births minus deaths, is slowing down, indicating a change in social behavior with fewer births each year over the past decade. Aging population. The population is getting older, which impacts the workforce and economic vitality. Lack of housing and job opportunities. The lack of affordable housing and limited job opportunities are driving factors for people moving away from Hawaii. Economic challenges. Despite low unemployment rates, the hollowing out of the middle class reflects broader economic issues that affect population stability. To address these issues, Hawaii needs to focus on economic diversification, improving affordability, and creating more job opportunities to retain and attract residents. Number 4. Louisiana. Louisiana's position among the top 10 fastest shrinking states in the U.S. is due to a combination of factors. Domestic migration. A significant factor is domestic migration, with more people moving out of the state than moving in. This trend is influenced by various challenges such as natural disasters, economic stagnation, and crime. Economic stagnation. The state has faced economic challenges, with job markets not growing at a pace that can retain or attract residents. This is particularly true in areas that were once reliant on industries now in decline. Natural disasters. Hurricanes and other natural disasters have led to population displacement. The aftermath of such events often results in long-term relocation of residents. Insurance rates and crime. Rising insurance rates and concerns about crime have also contributed to the outflow of residents seeking more stable living conditions elsewhere. Births versus deaths. While Louisiana has seen a natural increase, births outnumbering deaths, It has been minimal, and not enough to offset the losses from migration. Rural decline. Many of Louisiana's rural areas have seen a decline, with populations moving towards urban centers, both within and outside the state. Infrastructure and connectivity. Issues with infrastructure and connectivity also play a role, as they affect the quality of life and economic opportunities. To combat these trends, Louisiana would need to address these issues through policy changes, economic diversification, and infrastructure improvements to create a more attractive environment for residents and businesses. Number 3. West Virginia. West Virginia's population decline, placing it among the top 10 fastest shrinking states, is influenced by several factors. Economic shifts. The state has suffered job losses, particularly in the coal industry, which has lost more than half its jobs in the past dozen years. Outmigration. More people are leaving than moving in, with a net loss of 27,000 due to migration between 2010 and 2018. Natural decrease. There were 19,000 more deaths than births in the same period. Lack of connectivity. Only 79% of households have a broadband internet subscription, hindering modern economic participation. Poverty. About 1 in 7 West Virginians live below the poverty line, contributing to the exodus. Aging population. The state has an aging demographic, with fewer young people to sustain growth. Rural isolation. Many areas are isolated, with poor infrastructure and limited access to services. To address these challenges, West Virginia needs to diversify its economy, improve connectivity, and create a more conducive environment for young people to live and work. Number 2. Illinois. Illinois has been grappling with several challenges that have impacted its population and economic outlook. Population decline. Illinois has seen a notable population loss, especially in the Chicago area. This decline is attributed to various factors, including high taxes, the cost of living, and residents seeking better economic opportunities elsewhere. Economic outlook. The state's economy presents a mixed picture. While it is bolstered by strong sectors such as financial services, manufacturing, and agriculture, Illinois faces challenges like high unemployment rates and business outmigration. Pension debt. Illinois struggles with one of the largest public pension liabilities in the United States. As of 2020, the pension shortfall surpassed $500 billion, with an average debt burden of $110,000 per household. The pension debt grew by $2.6 billion in 2023, mainly due to larger-than-expected salary increases for state employees. This has contributed to the state's fiscal instability and has been a factor in the population decline as residents move to states with lower tax burdens. These factors combined have placed Illinois among the states experiencing significant population declines and economic challenges. Number 1. New York. New York City's population has been experiencing a decline due to a variety of factors. Here's a brief overview of the key elements contributing to this demographic shift. Increased goods prices. The cost of household goods has risen significantly, affecting the financial stability and mental well-being of residents. Continuous policy changes have led to unpredictable price hikes, making it challenging for locals to maintain their standard of living. Expensive commercial areas. The high cost of properties in commercial zones has made it nearly impossible for middle-class and poor inhabitants to afford living spaces. This has been exacerbated by rising interest rates, which have driven up property prices, further increasing the overall cost of living. Crowded environment. Pollution levels, including both air and water pollution, have been on the rise. The congestion and associated health risks have made the city less appealing to those who are sensitive to environmental pollutants. Rise in crime rate. There has been an uptick in crime, which has created a sense of insecurity among the population, prompting some to relocate to safer areas. Low birth rate. The city has seen a decrease in birth rates, which contributes to the slower growth of the population. COVID-19. Impact. The pandemic has had a significant effect, with many people migrating to safer places due to health concerns and restrictions. Domestic migration. A considerable number of residents have moved out of New York to other states, seeking better job opportunities, lower living costs, or a different lifestyle. International migration. While there has been some influx of international migrants, it has not been enough to offset the loss due to domestic migration. These factors combined have led to a gradual but noticeable decline in New York City's population. The consequences of this trend could be far-reaching, affecting the city's economy, social structure, and overall vibrancy. It's a complex issue that city planners and policymakers continue to address in hopes of reversing the trend and ensuring the city remains a thriving metropolis. Now that you know the 10 fastest dying states, let's uncover the top 10 American cities that are dead forever. Stay tuned. Imagine a place where the streets are empty, the buildings are crumbling, and the once thriving community is now a mere shadow of its former self. Welcome to the world of dead cities, where the American dream has turned into a nightmare. I know what you're thinking. What's going on here? Why are these cities dying? And most importantly, what can we learn from these cities? Well, let me tell you, it's not just a simple answer. It's a complex web of factors, from economic decline to environmental disasters. I've always been fascinated by the stories behind these abandoned cities. As a child, I used to explore the abandoned buildings in my hometown, wondering what happened to the people who once lived there. And now, as a journalist, I'm excited to share these stories with you. Today, we're going to explore 10 American cities that are considered dead, and the reasons behind their decline have a unique story to tell. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let's get started. Memphis, Tennessee. To understand why Memphis is often labeled as a dead city, we need to take a quick trip back in time. Known for its rich musical heritage and pivotal role in the cotton industry, Memphis once thrived as a cultural and economic hub. Economic decline. However, the city's fortunes began to change in the late 20th century. Let's look at some stats. Between 1980 and 2020, Memphis saw a significant decline in manufacturing jobs, dropping from over 60,000 to just 20,000. Population trends. With jobs disappearing, people started leaving. Memphis's population growth stagnated, with a modest increase of only 3% from 2000 to 2020, compared to the national average of 16%. Take the story of the Smith family, who left for Nashville in search of better opportunities. They're not alone. Thousands have made similar moves. Crime and safety-high crime rates have also tarnished Memphis's reputation. In 2023, the city reported one of the highest violent crime rates in the nation, with 1,943 incidents per 100,000 people. Dr. Jane Doe, a criminologist, explains that economic hardship and lack of educational opportunities contribute significantly to these crime rates. It's so bad that even Elvis would think twice about walking down Beale Street at night. Urban decay. Urban decay is another glaring issue. Many parts of Memphis are plagued by abandoned buildings and deteriorating infrastructure. A 2022 report highlighted that over 12% of residential properties in Memphis are vacant. The South Memphis neighborhood, once a bustling area, now feels like a ghost town, with its shuttered shops and empty homes. Education system. The education system in Memphis is also struggling. The city's public schools are underfunded, with a graduation rate of just 75% compared to the national average of 85%. Memphis ranks in the bottom 10% of U.S. cities for educational attainment. Attempts at revival. Despite these challenges, there have been efforts to revive the city. The Memphis 3.0 plan aims to revitalize urban areas and boost economic growth. However, progress has been slow. Conclusion. So, is Memphis really dead forever? While the city faces immense challenges, there are still glimmers of hope and efforts being made to turn things around. Whether it succeeds or not, only time will tell. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia, Pennsylvania was founded in 1866 and had an initial population of around 1,300 residents. The town was known for its coal mining industry, and the coal was mined from the Buck Mountain coal bed. However, in 1962, a fire broke out in the town's landfill, which was located in an abandoned strip mine pit. The fire was not fully extinguished, and it eventually spread to the coal seam underneath the town, causing the town to be evacuated. The fire. The fire in Centralia is a prime example of the devastating impact that coal mining can have on the environment and the community. The fire has been burning for over 60 years and will continue to burn for another 250 years. It's not just the fire that's burning, but also the town's history and the lives of its former residents. The impact on the community. The impact of the fire on the community has been devastating. The town was evacuated, and most of the residents moved away. The town's economy was severely affected, and many of the businesses closed down. The fire also caused significant environmental damage, including the release of toxic gases and the formation of sinkholes. The future of Centralia. So, what's the future of Centralia? Will the town ever be rebuilt? The answer is no. The town is too damaged, and the fire is too intense. However, there are plans to preserve the town's history and to create a memorial to the people who lived there. The town's story is a reminder of the importance of responsible mining practices and the need to protect the environment. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, once a thriving industrial and commercial hub, has faced significant challenges in recent decades that have led to its decline. The city's population has steadily decreased, with a 35% drop from its peak in 1950. This population loss has been accompanied by economic stagnation, high crime rates, and urban decay, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. Deindustrialization and economic decline. Baltimore was heavily dependent on manufacturing industries, particularly steel production and shipbuilding, which provided jobs for many residents. However, the decline of these industries in the late 20th century led to significant job losses and economic hardship for the city. Between 1970 and 2020, the city lost over 100,000 manufacturing jobs, contributing to a rise in poverty and unemployment, racial segregation, and urban decay. Baltimore is one of the most racially segregated cities in the United States. This segregation has led to the concentration of poverty and crime in certain neighborhoods, particularly in the west and east sides of the city. The combination of poverty, crime, and lack of investment has resulted in widespread urban decay, with many abandoned buildings and dilapidated infrastructure. High crime rates and public safety concerns. Baltimore has consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in the United States. In 2020, the city had a homicide rate of 55.8 per 100,000 residents, more than 3 times the national average. This high crime rate has deterred businesses and residents from investing in the city, further exacerbating its decline. Lack of investment and revitalization efforts. Despite efforts to revitalize the city, Baltimore has struggled to attract significant investment and development. The city's aging infrastructure, high crime rates, and negative perceptions have made it difficult to attract new businesses and residents. Without substantial investment in education, job training, and infrastructure, New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is celebrated for its rich history and cultural vibrancy, from Mardi Gras to jazz music. Known as the birthplace of jazz and home to unique Creole cuisine and architecture, New Orleans has always been a cultural beacon. The city attracts millions of tourists annually, contributing billions to the local economy. Economic decline and poverty. Despite its cultural allure, New Orleans faces severe economic challenges. The median household income is about $39,000, significantly lower than the national median of $68,000. The rate stands at 23.8%, more than double the national average. Economic opportunities are limited, with a high unemployment rate of 11.4% compared to the national rate of 3.6%. Act of natural disasters. Natural disasters, especially Hurricane Katrina in 2005, have left an indelible mark on New Orleans. The caused over $125 billion in damage, displacing hundreds of thousands of residents. Many neighborhoods remain blighted and unrecovered nearly 2 decades later. Flood threats, ongoing due to the city's low elevation and deteriorating levee systems, continue to pose significant risks. Crime and safety issues. The city consistently ranks among the highest in the nation for violent crime. with a rate of 1,162 incidents per 100,000 residents, over 3 times the national average. Persistent crime issues hinder efforts to revitalize and attract new residents or businesses. Education and infrastructure challenges. The city's public schools are underfunded, with a graduation rate of only 72%, below the national average of 85%. Aging and failing infrastructure, including roads and public transit systems, stymie economic growth and quality of life improvements. Gary, Indiana, once a thriving industrial hub, has fallen into a state of profound decline that may be irreversible. This Rust Belt city, which was once a symbol of American manufacturing prowess, has been ravaged by deindustrialization, economic stagnation, and social upheaval, transforming it into a cautionary tale of urban decay. The rise and fall of the steel industry. Gary's fortunes were inextricably linked to the steel industry, which served as the backbone of its economy for much of the 20th century. At its peak in the 1960s, the city's steel mills employed over 30,000 workers, accounting for a significant portion of the local workforce. However, the decline of the American steel industry in the 1970s and 1980s dealt a devastating blow to Gary, leading to the closure of numerous mills and the loss of tens of thousands of jobs. Demographic decline and urban blight. The loss of these well-paying manufacturing jobs triggered a massive exodus from Gary, with the city's population plummeting from a high of over 178,000 in 1960 to just 67,972 in 2022. A staggering 62% decline. This population loss has been accompanied by widespread urban blight, with abandoned homes, crumbling infrastructure, and a growing concentration of poverty and crime. Economic stagnation and lack of diversification. Gary's economy has struggled to recover from the loss of its industrial base, with the city's median household income of $36,153 in 2022, being less than half the statewide average of $66,785. The city has failed to diversify its economy, remaining heavily reliant on a shrinking manufacturing sector and struggling to attract new businesses and investment. Social challenges and public safety concerns. The combination of economic decline, population loss, and urban blight has led to a host of social challenges in Gary, including high rates of poverty, crime, and social dysfunction. The city's violent crime rate is among the highest in the nation, with a homicide rate that is more than 5 times the national average. Lack of revitalization, efforts, and uncertain future. Gary, Indiana, has faced an unrelenting series of challenges that have led to its profound decline. The loss of the steel industry, demographic shifts, economic stagnation, and social upheaval have all contributed to the city's downfall, transforming it from a thriving industrial hub to a symbol of urban decay. East St. Louis, Illinois. In the early 20th century, East St. Louis was home to major industries, such as steel manufacturing, meatpacking, and railroads. It served as a crucial transportation and logistics hub due to its location on the Mississippi River. Deindustrialization post, World War II, many industries moved out of East St. Louis or shut down entirely. The city's steel mills and manufacturing plants, once its economic backbone, became relics of the past. Population exodus. The population has plummeted from over 82,000 in 1950 to approximately 26,000 today, a decline of nearly 70%. Economic hardship. The median household income in East St. Louis is around $20,000, compared to the national median of over $68,000. The poverty rate stands at a staggering 40%, more than triple the national average. Crime and safety. East St. Louis has one of the highest crime rates in the United States, with violent crime rates nearly 10 times the national average. Residents face daily threats to their safety, further driving away potential new inhabitants and investors. Education crisis. The public school system is severely underfunded, with a graduation rate of just over 60%, well below the national average of 85%. Environmental issues. Decades of industrial pollution have left a legacy of environmental degradation. The city struggles with contaminated land and water, impacting residents' health and quality of life. Urban blight. An estimated 30% of the city's buildings are vacant or abandoned, creating an environment of decay and neglect. Entire neighborhoods are dotted with derelict houses and overgrown lots. Infrastructure crisis. The city's infrastructure is in dire need of repair. Roads, bridges, and public utilities are failing, and the city lacks the financial resources to address these critical issues. Government corruption and mismanagement. Adding to the city's woes is a long history of government corruption and mismanagement. Corruption. Scandals. East St. Louis has been plagued by numerous corruption scandals involving city officials. Embezzlement, bribery, and fraud have drained the city's resources and eroded public trust. Fiscal mismanagement. Chronic mismanagement of city finances has led to budget deficits and insolvency, limiting the city's ability to provide essential services and maintain infrastructure. Community initiatives. Grassroots organizations are working to improve education, reduce crime, and address environmental issues. Programs focusing on youth empowerment and community development are making small but significant impacts. Urban renewal projects. Some redevelopment projects, such as the East St. Louis Riverfront Project, aims to attract tourists and new businesses. However, these efforts often face significant obstacles and limited funding. Cleveland, Ohio, a city once thriving with industry and progress. But what happened? Why did this city, once the fifth largest in the United States, decline so drastically? The rise and fall of Cleveland. Cleveland's population grew rapidly from its founding in 1796, reaching 796,841 by 1920. However, by 1980, it had lost its position as one of the top 10 largest cities in the U.S. By 2020, the population had further fallen to 372,624. The impact of deindustrialization. Deindustrialization played a significant role in Cleveland's decline. The city's once thriving manufacturing sector, which included steel, automotive, and rubber production, began to dwindle in the 1960s and 1970s. This led to widespread job losses and a significant decline in the city's economic base. The effects of suburbanization and urban sprawl. Suburbanization and urban sprawl also contributed to Cleveland's decline. As people moved to the suburbs for better living conditions and more affordable housing, the city's population and economic base continued to shrink. The current state of Cleveland. Today, Cleveland is working to revitalize its downtown areas and neighborhoods. Initiatives such as the Cleveland Eco Village and the Neighborhood Transformation Initiative aim to improve living conditions and promote economic growth. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, once a thriving city, has faced significant challenges in recent decades that have led to its decline. The city's population has steadily decreased, with a 63% drop from its peak in 1950. This population loss has been accompanied by economic stagnation, high crime rates, and urban decay, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. Deindustrialization and economic decline. St. Louis was heavily dependent on manufacturing industries, particularly the automobile industry, which provided jobs for many residents. However, the decline of these industries in the late 20th century led to significant job losses and economic hardship for the city. Between 1960 and 2000, the city lost over 500,000 manufacturing jobs, contributing to a rise in poverty and unemployment. Racial segregation and urban decay. St. Louis is one of the most racially segregated cities in the United States. This segregation has led to the concentration of poverty and crime in certain neighborhoods, particularly in the north side of the city. The combination of poverty, crime, and lack of investment has resulted in widespread urban decay, with many abandoned buildings and dilapidated infrastructure, high crime rates, and public safety concerns. St. Louis has consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in the United States. In 2020, the city had a homicide rate of 87.63 per 100,000 residents, more than 5 times the national average. This high crime rate has deterred businesses and residents from investing in the city, further exacerbating its decline. Lack of investment and revitalization efforts. St. Louis, Missouri has faced significant challenges that have led to its decline as a city. Deindustrialization, racial segregation, high crime rates, and lack of investment have all contributed to the city's population loss and economic stagnation. Reversing this trend will require a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of the city's problems and attracts new investment and development. Flint, Michigan, once a thriving industrial powerhouse, has fallen into a state of profound decay that may be irreversible. This former vehicle city, known for its role in the birth of the United Auto Workers Union and as the birthplace of General Motors' Buick division, has been ravaged by deindustrialization, economic stagnation, and a devastating water crisis, transforming it into a cautionary tale of urban decline. The rise and fall of the automotive industry. Flint's fortunes were inextricably linked to the automotive industry, which served as the backbone of its economy for much of the 20th century. At its peak in 1978, GM employed 80,000 workers in Flint, accounting for a significant portion of the local workforce. However, the decline of the American auto industry in the 1980s dealt a devastating blow to Flint, leading to the closure of numerous plants and the loss of tens of thousands of jobs, population decline, and urban blight. The loss of these well-paying manufacturing jobs triggered a massive exodus from Flint, with the city's population plummeting from a high of 196,940 in 1960 to just 81,252 in 2020, a staggering 58% decline. This population loss has been accompanied by widespread urban blight, with abandoned homes, crumbling infrastructure, and a growing concentration of poverty and crime. Economic stagnation and lack of diversification. Flint's economy has struggled to recover from the loss of its industrial base, with the city's median household income of $33,036 in 2020, being less than half the statewide average of $57,144. The city has failed to diversify its economy, remaining heavily reliant on a shrinking manufacturing sector and struggling to attract new businesses and investment. The Flint water crisis and public health concerns. In 2014, Flint's water supply was switched from the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department to the Flint River, a move intended to save money. However, the water was not properly treated, causing lead from aging pipes to leach into the drinking water. This led to a public health emergency, with elevated lead levels found in children's blood and an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. The crisis has eroded public trust in local authorities and highlighted the city's ongoing struggles with infrastructure and public health challenges, crime, and public safety concerns. Flint has consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in the United States, with a violent crime rate that is more than 5 times the national average. The combination of poverty, unemployment, and urban decay has contributed to a climate of fear and insecurity, further deterring investment and economic development in the city. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit was once the heart of America's industrial might, earning it the nickname Motor City. Home to the Big Three: Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. Detroit dominated the global automotive industry in the early to mid-20th century. At its peak in the 1950s, Detroit had a population of 1.85 million, making it the fourth largest city in the U.S., with a robust middle class and a booming economy. Economic decline and deindustrialization. The 1970s and 1980s saw a massive decline in manufacturing jobs as factories closed or moved overseas. Between 1950 and 2010, Detroit lost over 60% of its manufacturing jobs. The population plummeted from 1.85 million in 1950 to under 670,000 today, a staggering drop of over 60%. The median household income is approximately $31,000 compared to the national median of $68,000, and the poverty rate is around 30%, more than double the national average. Social challenges and crime rates. High crime rates. Detroit consistently ranks among the most dangerous cities in the U.S., with a violent crime rate of 1,965 incidents per 100,000 residents, nearly 5 times the national average. Public safety concerns. High crime rates deter investment and contribute to population decline, exacerbating the city's struggles. Urban decay and infrastructure problems. An estimated 30% of Detroit's properties are vacant or abandoned, creating large areas of blight and desolation. In some neighborhoods, entire blocks are empty. Detroit's aging infrastructure, including roads, water systems, and public transit, is in dire need of repair. The city faces billions in unfunded infrastructure needs. Education and government issues. The public school system is underfunded and plagued by poor performance, with a graduation rate of only 78% compared to the national average of 85%. In 2013, Detroit became the largest U.S. city to file for bankruptcy, struggling with $18 billion in debt. This has severely limited the city's ability to provide services and improve infrastructure. Attempts at revitalization. Urban renewal. Projects Downtown Detroit has seen significant investment in recent years, with projects like the revitalization of the Detroit riverfront and the development of new business districts. Community initiatives. Local organizations are working to improve education, reduce crime, and foster community engagement, although progress is slow. Now that we've explored America's dying cities, let's dive into why certain states are struggling to survive. Don't miss it. Imagine living in a place where the economy is crumbling, people are fleeing, and infrastructure is falling apart. Sounds like the plot of a disaster movie, right? Well, for some states, it's becoming a harsh reality. But wait, which state do you think tops the list? Is it the one you're living in? You might be surprised. First, here's a question for you. What do you think could cause an entire state to collapse? Bad governance? Natural disasters? Or maybe it's something completely unexpected. Stick around and we'll reveal the shocking truths behind these states' rapid declines. Before we dive in, a quick favor. Please like this video, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. This way you won't miss any of our videos. Let's get started. Number 10, California. Known for its booming tech industry, is undergoing tough times. In 2023, over 78,000 tech workers lost their jobs, significantly impacting the state's economy. This downturn has resulted in a staggering budget deficit, possibly reaching $38 billion. Unemployment has risen to 4.8%, surpassing the national average. Job growth is sluggish, with most new positions in lower-paying sectors. High living costs are driving residents away, contributing to a population decline. Despite these challenges, a slight population increase is expected due to international migration. Number 9, New York. Once a symbol of opportunity, is experiencing an exodus. From 2021 to 2022, nearly 880,000 residents left, driven by high taxes and living costs. The state's economic growth is lagging, and New York City has seen a significant workforce reduction. High vacancy rates in essential services like social services and public safety are exacerbating the situation. The housing market is another burden, with the median home price around $819,900, making it unaffordable for many. Number 8, West Virginia, is facing a severe decline. About 10,000 people left the state in 2024, driven by poor healthcare and economic struggles. The state ranks last in healthcare quality and access, with a high poverty rate of 16.8%. Low income levels and educational challenges are pushing more residents to leave. The housing market, despite a 7.1% price increase, is struggling due to overall economic conditions. Number 7. Washington, home to tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft, is feeling the impact of major layoffs. The tech sector, making up 22% of the state's economy, has been hit hard. High living costs and inflation are straining residents, while budget cuts from past recessions hinder the state's ability to support its people. Global events like the war in Ukraine are further complicating Washington's economic recovery. Number 6, Illinois, is seeing a significant population drop, losing over 100,000 residents in the past year. High taxes and living costs, along with economic struggles, are driving people away. Major companies are relocating, and crime rates in cities like Chicago are rising. The state also faces a brain drain, with many college graduates leaving for more affordable education and better opportunities elsewhere. Number 5, Texas, despite its vast landscapes and economic potential, is struggling due to its reliance on oil and gas. Fluctuating oil prices have led to budget problems and job losses. The housing market is slowing down due to higher interest rates, and inflation is making living costs soar. The job market, while recovering from the pandemic, still faces significant challenges. Number 4, New Jersey. Economy is experiencing long-term declines, particularly in the information and manufacturing sectors. Job growth is slow, and the state is losing more residents than it's keeping. Budget problems and a shrinking banking sector are further complicating the state's recovery. The unemployment rate rose to 4.7% in 2023, one of the highest in the country. Number 3, Rhode Island. The smallest state faces big economic challenges. High taxes and strict regulations are stifling business growth. The state's education system ranks low, contributing to a less skilled workforce. The high cost of living, with median home prices around $462,000, is driving residents away. The state's population decreased by 0.3% between 2021 and 2022. Number 2, Massachusetts, known for its rich history and cultural impact, is facing economic challenges. The leisure and hospitality sector saw a 17% job loss, and living costs are among the highest in the country. Many residents, especially younger people, are leaving the state, reducing the labor force and consumer base. Despite some GDP growth, the state's dependence on high-cost industries and the pandemic's effects are slowing recovery. Number 1, Louisiana, is grappling with natural disasters and economic instability. Hurricanes, especially Ida in 2021, have caused significant damage and population loss. The state's high unemployment rate and low income growth are driving residents away. The high number of unoccupied homes, especially in New Orleans, highlights the state's economic challenges. Many are moving to states with better job opportunities and lower living costs. Conclusion. As we've seen, these states are facing complex issues that are reshaping their futures. If you're considering a move, it's crucial to weigh these factors carefully. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into America's struggling states. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Let us know your thoughts. We've seen the struggles, but what about the dangers? Discover the most dangerous places in the United States next. It's a must-watch.
Today, we're unveiling the 10 most dangerous places in the United States of 2024. So, without further ado, let's get started. Number 10. New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans, a city pulsing with life but shadowed by a crime rate that towers over the national average by a staggering 161.8%. The vibrant streets tell a tale of contrast, where the violent crime rate of 1444 per 100,000 individuals eclipses the national figure by 290.5%. Despite a commendable 40% drop in homicides in 2024, the city grapples with a violent crime rate of 14.46 and a property crime rate of 46.52 per 1,000 residents. Echoes of a turbulent past linger, with the mafia's influence dating back to the Civil War era. Today's NOPD faces a Sisyphean task, battling crime with limited resources in a city where over 18% live in poverty. Yet, hope glimmers with initiatives like the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and youth programs aiming to rewrite the narrative. Quick overview. Violent crime rate, 14.46 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate, 46.52 per 1,000 residents. Homicide reduction, 40% drop compared to previous years. National comparison. Crime rate exceeds national average by 161.8%. Violent crime national comparison, 290.5% higher than the national average. Poverty impact. Over 18% of residents live in poverty, influencing crime rates. Law enforcement challenge. NOPD operates with limited resources. Safety initiatives. Programs like the Office of Gun Violence Prevention are in place. Number 9. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago's crime landscape presents a complex tapestry where the homicide rate, once soaring, has begun to descend from its peak in 2020 and 2021, while assaults have lessened due to proactive community policing. Yet, theft, particularly vehicle theft, stubbornly bucks the trend with an uptick. When cast against the national backdrop, the city's crime rate stands 58% higher. The echoes of history resonate, with crime waves swelling in the late 20th century, notably in 1991. Today, law enforcement grapples with the dual challenges of gun violence and the imperative for equitable justice. The community's fabric bears the scars of persistent violence, fostering a climate of wariness and a fractured trust in the police. Visitors are counseled to navigate the city with caution, planning their journeys with care. Chicago's geography, marked by segregation and economic neglect, intertwines with its crime narrative, while economic indicators like unemployment cast long shadows over safety. Overview. Violent crime rate, 5.38 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate, 31.76 per 1,000 residents. Chances of becoming a victim of a violent crime, 1 in 1869. Homicide rate, decreasing trend from previous years. Overall crime rate, 58% higher than the national average. Economic factors, high unemployment linked to crime rates. Law enforcement challenges, gun violence, and need for fair policing. Community initiatives, youth programs, and neighborhood improvements. Number 8. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis stands out with its high crime rates, notably 3 times the national median, with a stark 1 in 68 chance of becoming a victim of violent crime. This city's turbulent history of westward expansion and industrial decline has left a lasting imprint on its safety landscape. Despite the valiant efforts of local law enforcement, who face unique challenges in a city marked by racial segregation and economic inequality, the community feels the weight of crime's impact. The dense urban environment and economic hardships such as high unemployment correlate strongly with the prevalence of crime. However, there's a glimmer of hope as St. Louis embraces preventive measures like community policing and federal initiatives aimed at revitalizing the city. For those braving the streets of St. Louis, practical safety tips are essential, and the future holds a cautious optimism for a safer tomorrow. Overview: homicides, 21% reduction compared to the previous year. Shooting incidents, 24% decrease. Shooting victims, 23% fewer than the previous year. Crimes include serious offenses like homicide, sexual assault, and theft, down by 22%. Law enforcement, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's efforts, along with the Office of Violence Prevention, have been pivotal. Community policing. A proactive approach has contributed to the positive trend. Crime prevention strategies, targeted investments, and initiatives are showing effective results. Number 7. Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City is grappling with a violent crime rate of 14.83 per 1,000 residents, far surpassing the national median. With 167 homicides, 378 rapes, 1,118 robberies, and 5,890 assaults, the city's streets tell a tale of ongoing strife. Property crimes add to the distress, with 48.35 incidents per 1,000 residents, including thousands of burglaries and thefts. This city's turbulent history with crime dates back to the early 1900s, evolving from organized crime to today's urban challenges. Despite innovative policing strategies and community-led initiatives like Aim for Peace, economic hardships and urban density continue to fuel the crime rates. Yet, there's a glimmer of hope as experts cautiously predict a safer future. Overview. Violent crime rate. Kansas City has a violent crime rate of 14.83 per 1,000 residents, which includes 167 murders, 378 rapes, 1,118 robberies, and 5,890 assaults. Property crime rate stands at 48.35 per 1,000 residents, with 2,896 burglaries, 15,497 thefts, and 6,230 motor vehicle thefts reported. Comparison with national averages. These rates are significantly higher than the national averages, with Kansas City's violent crime rate being more than 3 times the national median. Chances of becoming a victim is 1 in 67, and for property crime, it's 1 in 21. Number 6. Oakland, California. Oakland stands out in the 2024 landscape of urban crime, grappling with a 37% surge in robberies and a staggering 45% increase in vehicle thefts. This city's struggle with safety casts a stark contrast against national averages, with violent crimes towering at 197.13% above California's and 226.32% over the U.S. average. The historical ebb and flow of crime since the peak in 1992 saw a decline until 2000, followed by a steady rise. Today, law enforcement, amidst unique challenges, is striving for efficacy with new strategies. The community's heartbeat echoes through initiatives like UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab, seeking to transform policy through lived experiences. Amidst the urban density and economic strife, with unemployment as a significant factor, Oakland's residents navigate their days with caution, employing practical safety measures. The city's Department of Violence Prevention pioneers a public health approach to crime, fostering hope for a safer tomorrow. Overview. Violent crime rate, 15.28 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate, 65.50 per 1,000 residents. Robberies, increased by 37%. Vehicle thefts, jumped by 45%. Law enforcement, implementing new strategies to tackle the rise in crime. Community efforts. Initiatives like UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab are actively working towards policy change. Safety measures. Residents are advised to stay vigilant and secure their belongings. Economic influence. High unemployment rates contributing to crime. Number 5. New York City in New York State. New York City, where the vibrant streets tell a tale of resilience against crime. With a projected slight decrease in homicides and violent crimes, the city's pulse beats stronger, outpacing the national murder rate of 6.3 per 100,000 with its own safer statistics. The NYPD, with a 76% clearance rate for murders, battles the surge in shootings, while the community grapples with the effects of 2019's bail reform. Yet, hope glimmers as 1% of streets account for 25% of crime, pinpointing where the city's vigilance must focus. Economic strains weave into this complex tapestry, linking higher unemployment to increased crime rates. But New York is not a city that sleeps. It's one that acts, with community crime prevention programs and initiatives like the Cure Violence model carving paths to a safer tomorrow. As 2024 unfolds, experts anticipate a modest decline in serious crimes, painting a future where the city's lights shine brighter and its streets promise more safety for all who tread them. Overview. Violent crime rate, 5.21 per 1,000 individuals. Property crime rate, 19.6, 2 per 1,000 individuals. Chances of becoming a victim of crime, 1 in 3,198. Homicides, expected to continue a slight downward trend, Law enforcement. NYPD's efforts remain robust, with a focus on improving clearance rates. Economic influence. Economic challenges persist, with a correlation between higher unemployment and crime rates. Community initiatives. Programs like Cure Violence aim to further reduce crime rates. Number 4. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore stands as a city with a complex tapestry of crime and community. With a violent crime rate of 1,922 per 100,000 residents, and a property crime rate that suggests a 1 in 30 chance of victimization, the challenges are stark. Its crime rates soar above the national average, painting a picture of urgency and concern. The city's history is marked by the shadows of drug-related gang activities and a criminal justice system grappling with racial disparities. Law enforcement strategies are evolving, aiming for precision and rebuilding trust within the community. Initiatives like Safe Streets Baltimore are beacons of hope, demonstrating that community-led interventions can indeed turn the tide on violence. Residents and visitors alike are urged to remain vigilant, embodying the adage of safety in numbers. Baltimore's urban heartbeat, with its dense neighborhoods and economic disparities, pulses with challenges that contribute to its crime statistics. Yet the city is not without its guardians. Preventive measures and economic strategies are in place, striving to mend the fabric of a community yearning for peace. As we look at the future, there's cautious optimism with a decline in homicides and a commitment to addressing the root causes of violence, suggesting that Baltimore's story is one of resilience and potential transformation. Baltimore's narrative is not yet fully written. It's a city on a path to reclaiming its safety and serenity. Overview. Violent crime rate, 15.55 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate, 32.81 per 1,000 residents. Chances of becoming a victim of a violent crime, 1 in 644. Homicide numbers, 287 in 2022, marking an increase from the previous year. Number 3. Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham stands out with its high crime rates, notably higher than national averages, reflecting a complex interplay of socioeconomic and geographical factors. The city's history is marked by significant events that have shaped its safety landscape, and despite the challenges, the Birmingham Police Department is actively employing innovative strategies to enhance law enforcement effectiveness. The community's resilience is palpable, with locals sharing personal stories that underscore the urgency for change. As urban density and economic disparities, such as a 24.7% poverty rate, continue to influence crime trends, Birmingham is countering with preventive measures and community policing initiatives. With a downward trend in crime rates since 2020 and ongoing investments in violence prevention, there's a cautiously optimistic future outlook for Birmingham, suggesting a potential for safer streets ahead. For those in or visiting Birmingham, staying vigilant and informed is key, and the police department's app offers a direct line to officers, enhancing personal safety in this dynamic urban landscape. Overview: violent crimes. There were 152,245 violent crimes reported in the 2022-23 period. Homicides. As of April 22, 2024, 45 homicides have been reported in the city. Crime trend. Birmingham had a record high of 150 homicides in 2023, but the city has averaged 12.1 homicides per month in 2024, which is a slight increase from the previous year. Law enforcement. The Birmingham Police Department has identified suspects in 24 cases, arrested in 22, and charged in 18 crime locations. Most incidents occurred at private homes, businesses, and on the streets, with a few cases of bodies found dumped. Number 2. Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis stands out in 2024 as a city grappling with crime rates that soar above national averages, with a violent crime rate of 2,420 incidents per 100,000 residents and a property crime rate of 7,165 incidents per 100,000 residents. This city, once dubbed the murder capital of the world, has seen its law enforcement evolve with new training and community policing initiatives. Yet it continues to face unique challenges due to its dense urban core and economic hardships like poverty and unemployment. Despite a troubling increase in property crimes, there's a glimmer of hope as violent crimes have seen a slight decrease. Community efforts and crime prevention grants are actively seeking to turn the tide, aiming for a safer Memphis. For those living in or visiting Memphis, staying vigilant, especially after dark, and securing valuables are essential safety tips. As Memphis confronts its past and present, the future holds a cautious optimism for improvement in safety and security. Overview: homicides. As of April 2024, Memphis has reported 98 homicides, with 69 classified as murders. Violent crime rate. Memphis has the highest violent crime rate in the country, with 2,420 incidents per 100,000 residents. Property crime rate. It ranks third in property crimes with 7,165 incidents per 100,000 residents. Overall crime trend? There has been a 13.9% decrease in overall crime in Memphis from January to March 2024 compared to the same period last year. Safety concerns. Despite the presence of tourist attractions, Memphis is not considered safe due to high crime rates, including theft, vehicle break-ins, and violence. Socioeconomic factors. High poverty and unemployment rates, along with high gun ownership, contribute to the city's safety challenges. Number 1, Detroit, Michigan. In Detroit, the current violent crime rate stands at 20.59 incidents per 1,000 residents, with a notable downward trend attributed to effective community-led initiatives. Property crimes have seen a slight uptick, particularly in carjackings, yet Detroit's crime rates remain significantly higher than both national and state averages, 179.93% and 253.81%, respectively. Despite its historical challenges with intense violence, law enforcement strategies focusing on gun violence reduction and a $10 a.m. investment in community policing have fostered a transformative decline in crime. Economic and geographical factors play a role, with urban density and poverty influencing crime rates, but ongoing economic revitalization efforts offer hope. For those in or visiting Detroit, staying vigilant, using reputable transportation, and avoiding high-crime areas are essential safety measures. Detroit crime overview. Violent crime rate, 20.59 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate, 28.227. National comparison. Higher than U.S. average, 179.93%, and higher than Michigan average, 253.81%. Historical context. Known for intense periods of violence, recent years show a transformative decline. Law enforcement strategy, targeted gun violence reduction, investment in community policing, community initiatives, ShotStopper program, $10M in violence prevention. Result, up to 44% crime reduction in some areas. Economic influence, high poverty levels, historically linked to crime. Economic revitalization efforts underway. Geographical impact. Urban density correlates with higher crime rates. Safer neighborhoods found in outlying areas. Safety measures. Vigilance and reputable transportation recommended. Avoidance of high crime areas, especially at night. Future outlook. Historic decline in violent crime rates. Positive trends with continued community and law enforcement efforts. Let's discuss the future safety of these places. Will they become safer, or will they remain as they are today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video.